Hey everyone, welcome to the Week 6 recap of the Danker Family Fantasy Football League. I am your host, Paul Jensen, and yeah, 6 weeks already through the season. That's quite something. Going by a little too quickly, in my opinion. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive right into our recap here. Just a quick look at the standings. As you can see, it finally happened. Uncle Tom lost a game, so no more undefeated teams in our league. So Tom is still top of the West at 5-1 with Joan in second, 4-2, and then Lop, John Lop at 3-3, Garrett 2-4, me 1-5. Yeah, pretty consistent. 5-4-3-2-1. Look at that. In the East, you have Ben and Adrian are tied for first, 4-2, and then Dad all by himself in second at 3-3. Good job, Nels. And then bringing up the rear in that division is Carrie and Carol, both at 2-4. Um, and then also just, quick update on points for, points against. For points for, Uncle Tom, Ben, Uncle Tom and Ben have both surpassed the 800 mark with Joan shortly behind in third, and Adrian in fourth, and John Lopp in fifth. Everyone else yet to break the 700 mark. And then for points against, Adrian has the least with 600, also followed by Nels and Tom with under 700. And then just above seven and fourth is myself, which is odd because I'm not that good this year. My team sucks. But I guess it doesn't suck, or maybe it's more just bad luck on my end because, I'm only fourth in points against, yet I'm last place. So who knows? But yeah, and then Garrett, Carey, John are all bringing up the rear in terms of unluckiness, points against. So, and then just one last look, just some streaks going on. Ben, Joan, Adrian, all with 3 game win streaks. They're on fire right now. They're rolling in hot. Um, and then myself and Garrett on 3 game losing streaks, of course, and then Carey after starting 2-0, 4 straight losses. Now on a 4 game losing streak. Carey's gonna try to find a way to turn that around. Maybe she will this next week. We'll see. But we're gonna go ahead and get into the meat of things here. Uh, Recapping week 6. Just a quick look at the scoreboard here. Most points for this week went to Nels Jensen at 148.12 points in his victory over Uncle Tom. Not not the most, not the highest amount of most points in a week. Obviously, we've had some 180s out there. We've had a few 170s and some 160s, but that did the job for this week. So that one goes to Dad. Fewest points is going to go to Garrett, 51.5. I think that's the new season low. I should have checked before recording this video, but I'm pretty sure that is. When when you have, what is it, 9 players total and the total is 51.5. Yeah, that's yeah, not looking good there. Um, for best win, it's going to go to Adrian, who happened to play Garrett. Adrian had a 81.24 margin of victory. So Adrian just complete domination of that matchup. Toughest loss, it's going to go to myself. I lost by single digits. There were a lot of things I could have done differently that would have changed the outcome, and I could have won that game. But I just started the wrong players. Had some bad luck. Some of Ben's players went off. Others also got hurt, so I got helped out a little bit, but in the end I just didn't play the right players and that's on me. So, yeah, tough loss, only a 8.04 margin of defeat for myself. And then the luckiest win just by that has to go to Ben, right? Because he had like his quarterback Justin Fields get hurt, Christian McCaffrey got hurt, a lot of his players. He had a few like really good performances from certain players, but for the most part, his team was kind of subpar. So yeah, I'd say Ben was, and he was the seventh highest scorer. Like there were a couple losers out there from last week that scored more points than him. So he could have lost if he played those guys, but he didn't because he played me, worst team in the league. Anyway, so those are our winners and our categories and stuff like that. So going on into the matchups themselves, first diving into Ben versus myself. I got this one right. I predicted Ben would win in a close one, and he did. Not surprising there. What else is new? Ben moves up to 4-2 again, first place in the East. I'm down to last place in the West. Um, you know, key players for Ben, Travis Etienne went off for 23.3 points against Indy. He's had two really good games against Indianapolis. He really loves playing them. So, but yeah, he's been very solid all year long. AJ Brown also had a typical good game. I mean, he did a lot better. He did really well for the fact that the Eagles offense didn't really look that great overall, but he still got 20 points. He just a lot of targets. That's what happens when you catch a lot of balls, and even if it's not many catches, like he goes off for yards too. So, but yeah, and then Jacoby Myers, he's been very consistent all year. I think he's turning into like an every week starter for Ben. So, those are pretty much his three best. For myself, I had Tua at 22. Another great game for Miami's offense. Derrick Henry went off 19.3 points. Very thankful for that. Jerome Ford did all right, but still under projected. Keenan Allen did his thing. He's definitely been my most productive player. Probably him and Puka Nacua, but except Puka was pretty bad this week. But yeah, those are probably my best contributors from the starting lineup this week. Key to victory for Ben. He just had enough players getting double digits. He had, I think we both didn't have many good performers, but Ben had a total of five get into double digits, and I only had four. Everyone else, for me, I was let down by my wide receivers. Adams, two straight poor weeks. That's something that's not, you know, come on, Adams, what are you doing, bro? Puka Nacua had a down week. Is this something where Puka Nacua is going to start trending downward because of Cooper Kupp returning from injury? Who knows? I mean, he played well the week prior against Philly, just and then didn't play well against the Arizona defense this week. And then, of course, I play the wrong tight end. I played Zach Ertz when sat Kyle Pitts for the second straight week, and 2 weeks in a row, Kyle Pitts gets 14 plus on my bench. So yeah, I'll probably start Kyle Pitts next week, and then I'll go back to doing nothing. So with my luck, at least. Yeah, and then yeah, I mean everyone else. I mean everything else kind of speaks for itself. Yeah, just my decision. If I would have played Terry McLaurin or Jameson, well, again, hindsight's 2020. So this is obviously, no duh. But yeah, if I would have played any of them in lieu of my receivers or Kyle Pitts instead of Zach Ertz, I win this matchup. So it's just that simple. Um, and then for Ben, like I said, just enough players got in double digits. He did, despite Justin Fields getting hurt, despite McCaffrey only getting 14 and then getting hurt. Calvin Ridley, Cole Kmet, those guys have had good weeks in the past. They just didn't have it this week. Um, and then yeah, like even our benches were pretty similar. So, but moving forward for Ben, Justin Fields' injury does kind of hurt him a little bit, so he might need to. I mean, not might. He probably will need to, um, hit the quarterback market, either whether it's via trade or waiver wire free agency. So expect Ben to get a new quarterback for next week because I think Justin Fields is doubtful for the next game against Raiders. So, and that's never a good sign when you're doubtful this early into the week. So yeah, and then also, what does the Christian McCaffrey injury have an effect on him? Now, I know he should be good to go for next Monday, but um, we just keep an eye out on that, because your running back depth is a little bit iffy. So you just want to make sure that or hope that McCaffrey stays healthy all year, because that would be a huge blow to Ben's chances if he were to miss any time. Um, and then for myself, I'm just in running back hell right now. I mean, Derrick Henry was great, but he's on a bye next week, so I am pretty desperate for running backs. I'll be continuing to make some trade offers, and I might bite the bullet on some of my top players just to get a good running back or two. I don't know, but yeah, definitely need that. And then just got to get the tight end situation right. It's like every week I pick the wrong tight end, so not helping. And then also just wide receiver consistency issues. Devontae Adams has been a roller coaster. He hasn't been like he's had great games where he's gone off, or yeah, but he just hasn't been that consistent, steady, like productive receiver every week. And then Puka finally had a down week, and I hope that's just an aberration, not signs to come. So yeah. moving forward to the next game, Carey versus Joan. I predicted that Joan would win, and she did. Looking at this one for Carey, Brees Hall did great, 20 point, back-to-back 20-point games for Brees Hall, so he's definitely on the up and up. He's trending well. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was incredible, 30 points against Tampa Bay. And other than those two, though, not really much else for Carey, which obviously kind of led to the loss to Mom. For Joan, she had Raheem Mostert, who I think was the best scorer of any player in fantasy for at least for our league in the starters, 34.2 points. Obviously doing well with Achan out, taking advantage of that opportunity. But even with it, when Achan's been playing, uh, Mostert's been pretty good all year. So definitely liking. I didn't like it early in the season, but now Mom's running back group is starting to really rub off on me. I like that, really do. Um, and then also, Harrison Butker, the kicker, got 18 points. I think, yeah, Harrison Butker, her kicker was her second highest score, and yet she still easily won. So it's just incredible. And then yeah, Garrett Wilson had a nice game. Uh, the Raiders defense, going off for 11. I mean, they're playing the Patriots. I feel like you should always just pick up whoever's playing the Patriots offense for your defense. So, but yeah, key to victory for Mom. Obviously the majority of her team outperformed their projection, right? I mean, yeah, you have Mostert, Wilson, Christian Kirk. He's been very steady. Um, Raiders defense, Harrison Butker. Yeah, they all did well. Even not getting big performances from Eckler and Ferguson and Josh Allen, like it didn't matter because Carey's lineup was just tough luck. Carey didn't have that much luck this week. Only two players outscored their projection. Brees and Amon-Ra. Everyone like James Cook struggled against the struggling Giants defense. That was a little shocking. Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he's like it's really weird because like he's has the talent, right? But he hasn't really gone. He hasn't had that big game yet this year where he hasn't. I don't even think he's cracked 20 points all season. Yeah, it's just tough. You just never know what you're going to get with him either. He's got good weapons around him too, but he just hasn't been able to figure out fantasy wise at least. Marquise Brown had a down week. Hunter Henry, he started off really well and he's just gone downhill. Yeah, and then DJ Moore, uh, subpar week for him too. And then poor Carey, she had Tyler Bass who had nothing, where Harrison Butker at 18. So that's quite the discrepancy at the kicker position. So yeah. Moving forward though, for Carey, she definitely might need to, you know, consider getting a new tight end because I mean, to start the season, Henry had two great first two games, but Patriots offense is just super super bad and unreliable. Um, yeah, it's just you may need to look into finding a new tight end, and also, the quarterback situation also isn't. So I've started to notice isn't looking as good as it did early on for Carey. Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins started off well, but he's dropped down a little bit. I mean, even losing Justin Jefferson, you know, hasn't been good for him so far. So hopefully for Carey, either Trevor Lawrence can find it or Kirk Cousins can find it, but quarterback situation is just a tad bit off, in my opinion. And for Joan, she's kind of like me. She can't figure out the tight end situation. Every week she plays Darren Waller. Darren Waller does nothing, and every week she doesn't play Darren Waller, he does well. I mean, he only got 9.3 points this week, but still would have been better than Jake Ferguson. But yeah, she picked up Jake Ferguson in two straight starts. He hasn't really done much. So I don't know if Mom's just cursed to tight end like I am. Maybe it's in the blood. I don't know. Is it a Jensen Danker thing? I don't know. But yeah, just a little bit of tough luck with that situation though. And also, Josh Allen didn't have a great game, but it didn't matter. But I wouldn't worry about him. It was only his second bad outings. He just doesn't like playing those New York teams. The Jets and the Giants, just for whatever reason, they have Josh Allen's number, but everyone else, Josh Allen does really well. So I wouldn't be worried if I were Mom. She's looking pretty solid right now, honestly. She early in the season, I was very concerned about her depth, but it's honestly not that bad. I mean, especially since Christian Kirk has been playing a lot better than I thought. George Pickens is going to come off a bye. He had a great game 2 weeks ago, so he might be a guy, keep looking at moving forward. And then obviously having the Cowboys defense doesn't hurt. Yeah, and then Josh Palmer, wide receiver too. So overall, I like Mom's team now. Moving up to game three, the shocker of all shot. I'm just kidding. I mean, I thought this would be a close game, but I did predict Tom would win, and I got it wrong. It was the only one I got wrong all week. So congratulations, Dad. Nels Jensen taking down the leader of the league in Tom. So yeah, diving in though for Nels, Adam Thielen once again. I mean, 28 and a half points. He's Bryce Young's go-to guy. Bryce Young just loves that veteran receiver. So great pickup early on by Nels in that in free agency. I don't think he drafted him if I'm correct. Um, and Michael Pittman had a great game. Travis Kelce had a great game. Chris Olave had a nice bounce back after those tough 2 weeks. Tony Pollard had a good game. So yeah, I mean, and for Tom, he didn't really have many great performances. I mean, he had Tyreek Hill, who did his typical Tyreek Hill thing, backflipping with the camera and everything. Kenneth Walker had a good game. Mahomes decent game, but obviously way well under the projection. So yeah, key to victory for Dad. He only had two players in single digits, and those were his kicker and defense, which are basically the two positions you pretty much expect to get single digits most of the time, at least. So yeah, I mean everyone from quarterback all the way down to flex, he had double digits, and the smallest one of that group was Brian Robinson at 13.6. So yeah, if you have seven players to get 13.6 or more, that's easy recipe for victory right there. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it definitely helps. That's for sure. So he had just overall consistent, great performances from his entire starting lineup. And then for Tom, obviously, it goes without saying, only two players outperformed their projection. Um, had a lot of people who normally do well struggle. Like Josh Jacobs was all right, but didn't do much. Devontae Smith, he's been he hasn't done well lately. TJ Hawkinson had a down week. David Montgomery got hurt, so that doesn't help. I mean, but no one's gonna feel bad for Tom. He's got so much depth, it doesn't even matter. But I mean, it did matter for this week. But but yeah, I mean, David Montgomery, after getting 34 and 20 the last 2 weeks, only got four, so that obviously didn't help. But yeah, and then moving forward for Nels, the depth will start to take a little bit of a hit with some of these injuries and bye weeks coming up for some of his players, like James Conner's out and Tony Pollard's going to be on a bye. So um, his running back group a little iffy. Now Javonte Williams is still a starting running back for Denver, so I wouldn't be surprised if Nels starts him next week. But after that, there's really no other running back options, and Javonte hasn't really shown much of this season. So a little bit of a tricky situation for running back for Nels next week. Um, and yeah, and then also Deebo Samuel getting hurt, but he did the right thing and he sat him on his bench. So Dad lucked out there. So yeah, good job. And he also played the right defense this week, unlike the week prior when he played Washington and they got negative points. So uh, good job there. For Tom moving forward, um, you know, Devontae Smith, he's been trending down. I mean, like three of his last four games, he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done much, and I'm starting to worry about that. And I know like I shouldn't be worried for Tom, but I'm saying if I were Tom, I would be a little concerned, because he hasn't really been that great other than like maybe one or two games this season. And meanwhile, Christian Watson's coming off a bye week. Brandon Ayuk's been very productive. You got Kyron Williams. I know he's hurt, so he's probably not going to play next week, but still, overall this season, he's been very good. And even Dalton Schultz, he's been a decent. I mean, I know he's not a wide receiver or flex. He could play. You could play him at flex though. But yeah, you just got all these options that you could use as either a wide receiver or flex to potentially replace Devontae if he continues to struggle. So yeah, just something to ponder, think about. Um, Moving forward to game four, Carroll versus John. I predicted this one right. Although I did get it wrong in the fact that I said it would be a close win. It was hard for me to decide. Um, I said John would barely edge it out, and he won, but he won big. So John proved me wrong there. But I still got the pick right. Um, for Carroll, I mean, obviously Jalen Hurts did. I mean, he underprojected, but he still was her top performer. Zay Flowers had a good game. Isaiah Pacheco, good game. Ravens defense, did really well against Tennessee. For John, Justin Herbert did his thing. Alvin Kamara, another good pickup for John. He's been great. Cooper Kupp, two great games coming off the injury. Jalen Waddle having a nice game. Chiefs defense getting 16. It's really rare to have a defense get, more than 15. So, really good, two good defenses in this matchup. And then even Brett Maher, the kicker, another good week for kickers. You have Butker at 18, Brett Maher at 15, so yeah, getting a lot from your kickers this week. But yeah, key to the game for John, he only had one player in single digits, and that was the tight end, Logan Thomas. Another tight end situation like myself and Jones. So, uh, yeah, like just, but other than that, everyone else, like his second lowest score was Jordan Addison, who had 11.8. And kind of similar to Nels, when you have a ton of most of your team getting double digits, that bodes well. So, it's a good recipe for victory. For Carol, she only had two players total in her lineup outperform their projection, Zay Flowers and the Ravens defense. Everyone else was just meh or lackluster. Like Joe Mixon, he's been very disappointing this year. He's been struggling just as the Bengals offense has been. Down week for Jalen Hurts playing a tough Jets defense, although 19.9 points is nothing to be ashamed of. It's still a good amount of points for quarterback. Um, yeah, like Jamar Chase again, Bengals offense has just not been consistent enough. Laporta had a down week. That was a little disappointing. I thought he'd go off against Tampa. Nico Collins, yeah, like it's hard to trust Houston's offense, especially since they're so young. But yeah, just nothing. And there's also nothing Carroll could have done too. Like looking at her bench, if she would have made all these changes, she was screwed either way. So, John ended up winning this one decidedly. Um, yeah, and then moving forward, Carroll's running back depth is going to be an issue with Joe Mixon going on a bye next week. I mean, I like Pacheco obviously, but after him, Rashad White, he's very like he needs to face. It's very matchup based for him, and I think they're playing Atlanta next week, so he could do good against Atlanta. I mean, we'll see. And then I don't think she doesn't have any other running backs after that. So yeah, Carroll might be in the running back market for waiver wire or trade soon. So yeah, and then also for John moving forward, um, other than tight end, I think his lineup is actually really coming into real shape here. I think John is starting to really convince me that his team is for real. I think he can eventually, if barring health and a little bit better play from Jordan Addison or more consistent play from Jordan Addison, I think John's team actually has the potential to be, playoff caliber or even maybe potentially championship caliber. Seriously, I mean, Herbert's been amazing. This was Herbert's worst week, and he has had 19 points. Like that was his worst week of the season. He's still got two good, solid running backs in the South. Cooper Kupp coming off. And now that does matter. Kupp needs to stay healthy. And then Jordan Addison, he's had great games and he's also had poor games. Again, that just needs to be more consistent. Jalen Waddle, he's had good games, and in his depth too. You got Barkley on your bench, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, Achane. Like he's got a great team other than tight end. Tight end's the one position that John doesn't have a good player at. So yeah, I do like John's team a lot. I'm not gonna lie. And then finally, last matchup, Adrian versus Garrett. This one was super predictable. I did say that Adrian would win, and he did. Sam Howell had another good game. Didn't get 20 points. Once again, Atlanta's defense has not surrendered a 20-point game to an opposing quarterback this year. So yeah, if your quarterback is playing the Atlanta Falcons, just be cautious. But still, he did well enough. He overprojected. Ramondre Stevenson had the best game of his season, had 18 points. DeAndre Swift had another great game. Stephon Diggs did his thing. CeeDee Lamb had a good game. And another kicker, Justin Tucker, 19 points. Good God. These kickers are just going off this week. Yeah, great performance by most of his lineup. I mean, obviously Mark Andrews kind of had a down week, but Hopkins, typical. He only had he's a one-hit wonder from last week. I'm still not sold on DeAndre, even with Tannehill being out now, with the young QB. Malik Willis is more of a running quarterback, it seems like so far. So we don't know too much about him yet, but I don't like DeAndre Hopkins anymore. I used to, but I'm not a big, not sold on him much anymore, unless he's got like just an insanely good quarterback that can get him the ball because he is getting up there in age and he can't do everything on his own. Um, and then for Garrett, Joe Burrow was his best performer and he only got 13.8 points. Yikes. I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, it was just a very tough luck week. And Garrett's bench outscored his starting lineup. That is very hard to do. Like and he had Aaron Jones on a bye, Justin Jefferson on IR. Obviously you started Kittle over Goddard. That didn't help. Sutton, he's been actually pretty decent. Obviously, you should have started Goff again. Hindsight's 2020. Should have started Goff instead of Burrow, but again, it wouldn't have mattered because Adrian still would have won. Garrett, I don't know if I mean in my prediction video, I was warning. I was like, hey, don't play Rashad Johnson. He's gonna be hurt. I guess Garrett just didn't see it in time, but yeah, I ended up playing him and just never played. So played someone who was inactive. What can you do? I tried to warn you. And yeah, just overall, just weak. I mean, Mike Evans was your third highest score and he had 8.9 points. DK only 10. Yeah, just overall sad. Not much else I can say, honestly. Or, nothing he could have done either. Even if he played all the right players from his bench, still would have lost. Um, yeah, I mean, Adrian only had two players in single digits, Hopkins and the Eagles defense, and that's it. Everyone else did great, did great. Really great week for Adrian overall. I still think Drake London's a more safer play than DeAndre Hopkins, even though they both have bad quarterbacks. And I know it's crazy for me to say because DeAndre Hopkins is his career obviously is way better. I mean, he's older too, but yeah, just historically, obviously, you go if you think about going with Hopkins, but Drake London's just been playing a lot better than DeAndre Hopkins overall this season. But yeah, going forward for Adrian, his depth's going to be tested with some of his receivers going on buys this week. Hopkins will be on a bye. CeeDee Lamb will be on a bye. So he'll probably have Drake London starting next week. I don't know who he'll start in flex from his running backs, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe Gibson, maybe Zeke Elliott. I don't know. But the Patriots offense doesn't look that good either. So we'll see how it goes. Um, but yeah, and then for Garrett, yeah, it was a really tough week. Mike Evans usually should be fine. Damian Pierce should be fine, but he is playing. He did have a tough matchup against a good run defense in New Orleans. DK Metcalf just had a down week. Don't expect much of that. Same with, I mean, Dallas Goedert and George Kittle. It's kind of a tough play to decide who to pick. And then Cortland Sutton has been a lot more consistent this year than Jerry Jeudy, and I think I mentioned that last week. So I would trust Sutton way more than Jerry Jeudy moving forward in that Broncos offense. So if you had to pick between the two, if it were me, I'd easily pick Cortland Sutton. He's just been more consistent this year and more reliable. And then obviously, yeah, it goes again, your running back situation. Aaron Jones should play this week. I say that with a big emphasis, but we just don't know because everyone thought he'd play in the Raider game, but he didn't. So it's just tough to gauge with that. I don't think Rashawn Johnson's gonna be playing next week either. So yeah, it's gonna be most likely Pierce and Jones for him, and then that's it. Which I guess is fine if neither of them have a bye or are hurt. But Aaron Jones, who knows, man? Like we all thought we just don't know what's wrong with him. So yeah, running back situation looking dire. Overall, my record for predictions has gone to 19 and 11. So that's where my record stands predicting wise. And then finally, final standing projections, the power rankings, if you sort of say since draft day. Uncle Tom still at number one, even though he lost, he's still projected to be the number one team, which makes sense. Ben Danker up to number two in the power rankings. Even though he barely squeaked one out against me, his team overall has got better players. And third, we got Joan Jensen at three. At four, Adrian. Joan and Adrian and Ben have all been winning a lot recently, so that makes sense. At number five is John Lopp. He's been winning a lot too recently, and his team's starting to really take shape. Nels Jensen dropped to six. I mean, he didn't drop, but like he dropped from draft day, but that surprised me a little bit. I think yeah, Dad's going to be tested with some injuries and buys coming up, but I mean, he just beat Tom. Give him a little bit of love there. Carroll down to 7. Um, Carey up to 8 from 9, so a little bit better from draft day. Garrett all the way down to 9, and then myself dead last because this is just not my year. Rip. Yeah, trending down. Garrett's from draft day again. Garrett's team has performed least good, or that's not even, I don't even know how to say it. Garrett's team has been performing the worst as projected, at least. And then Ben's has been just overperforming this year, along with uh, John and Joan, who are up a few slots from their draft day standings. So those that was the recap of week 6 in fantasy football for the Danker Family League. So thank you so much for watching. I will come out with the week 7 prediction video later this week. I appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, have a good week, everyone. Signing off, Paul Jensen. See you later.